We're living through a climate crisis, and every year we promise solutions that fell short. Green New Deals, carbon markets, sustainable growth, they help, but not nearly enough. It's just the same lie they sell.
So you're saying we need to abandon growth itself? That's not a solution. It only sounds like asking everyone to live with less and call it progress.
This is a debate at the heart of 21st century environmentalism and economics. Kohei Saito's Slow Down claims we can't fix climate change without degrowth communism. But is that the case, or is our current system capable of fixing it on its own? Let's hear more from both sides.
Here's what most people don't realize. The climate crisis isn't a glitch in capitalism. It's the inevitable in such system. The system requires endless growth to function. Every company, every year has to grow profits or collapse. That means more consumption, more extraction to those raw materials, and more waste. It's simple math. This is the problem of the imperial mode of living. Our phones, fast fashion lines, same-day delivery, those are all built on resource extraction and labor exploitation we don't see. The cause seem invisible because supply chains are fragmented globally. The second thing is that we have real physical limits. Scientists at the Stockholm Resilience Center identify 9 planetary boundaries, including climate, biodiversity, land use, nitrogen cycles, and so on. As of 2023, 6 of the 9 have already been crossed. You cannot infinitely grow on a finite planet. Degrowth communism isn't about making people poor. It's about redistribution and reorientation. We already produce enough food, goods, and services. We just waste enormous resources on luxuries and what David Graeber called bullshit jobs that exist only to keep the wheels of profit turning. Imagine if those energy went into care work, education, or rebuilding ecosystem instead. Lastly, let me emphasize what Saito proposed that could be the solutions here. Start by reducing working hours, prioritizing care work and education, shifting from exchange value to use value. That's abundance through sharing, not depriving, and it is possible.
I hear the frustration, but this argument has real problems. First, many criticize that Saito overreads Marx. Marx never suggested humanity as a whole could have taken a non-capitalist path. His work actually celebrates capitalism's productive power. Saito is reading his own ideology into Marx's notes. Secondly, to assume that we have enough is a privilege only people in wealthy countries can say. Right now, 700 million people live in extreme poverty. Workers in the global south don't need degrowth, they need development. Telling them to embrace degrowth is a luxury position from the rich. Look at Denmark or Norway. They have both strong economic growth and strong social safety nets, universal healthcare, and affordable housing. The problem isn't growth, it's inequality and corporate power. A regulated capitalism with strong unions, wealth taxes, and public investment can deliver sustainability. Third, Saito underestimates human innovation. When Marx worried about agricultural limits, the Haber-Bosch process solved it. Renewable energy is now growing faster than fossil fuels in many regions. Technology development under democratic planning can decouple growth from emission. Finally, and this is crucial, Saito has no credible path to implementation. Every communist attempt in the 20th century led to authoritarianism and environmental destruction. The Soviet Union had catastrophic ecological crisis. If economies shrink, unemployment skyrockets and working people lose jobs. Degrowth hit them hardest.
You're missing the core problem here. Growth capitalism cannot be reformed. Yes, technology advances, but it advances within a system designed to waste it. Renewable energy was invented decades ago. Why isn't the world powered by solar? Because capitalism by its design slows its adoption to protect fossil fuel profits.
But that's not capitalism's fault, that's politics. Denmark generates 80% of electricity from wind. Germany has massive solar capacity. Technology is changing.
Under pressure and subsidies maybe, and not to mention that data changes every year. Meanwhile, 6 planetary boundaries are crossed. We don't have time for incremental change.
Okay, so on the global south, you say degrowth enables development. How? If wealthy economies shrink, there's less investment, less aid, and fewer jobs.
That's not what I'm saying. The reason the global south is poor isn't lack of growth. It's extraction. Saito emphasizes repeatedly, and the imperial mode of living in wealthy countries. Stop extracting resources, stop dumping waste there, and they can develop autonomously based on their needs and not on our consumption demands.
But you're asking them to wait while the North degrows. That's asking poor people to stay poor longer so the rich people can feel better. Workers in Bangladesh making clothes for the fast fashion aren't suffering because there's too much growth. They need higher wages, better conditions, and more development.
How could you expect them to develop fairly when northern capital is extracting their resources? In fact, Saito does agree that Global South needs development under degrowth system. Degrowth in the north might just enable autonomous development in the south.
Well, let's talk about implementation. You cannot just dismiss the Soviet Union as just Stalinism. But every attempt to implement communism resulted in centralized authoritarianism and environmental destruction. The USSR has catastrophic ecological crisis, worse than the West in many ways. Why? Because without democratic markets and accountability, central planning fails.
The Soviet Union wasn't communist, it was state capitalism, and yes, it failed, but that's not an argument against degrowth. Degrowth means democratic control. I'm talking about community assemblies, cooperatives, and shared commons that reflect collective needs. That's completely different from Soviet bureaucracy.
A community assembly sounds nice until you realize, how do you coordinate globally? How do you prevent authoritarianism? History shows that a revolutionary movement became authoritarian system. You're imagining a perfect communism that has never existed before.
And you're imagining regulated capitalism can move fast enough. We have less than a decade to drastically cut emissions. State planning within growth, that's been tried for 30 years of climate agreements, and we're still emitting more. At some point you have to ask, can the system actually change, or is reform itself just a fantasy?
What we need is feasible, strong state planning within growth, technology transfer to the global south, wealth redistribution through taxes and unions, public ownerships of key sectors. That is politically achievable. Degrowth is neither viable nor ecologically proven to be better than these solutions.
But it's been proven at planetary scale that growth solves nothing. The wealthier we get, the more we emit. At what point do you admit that reform just isn't working?
At the point where you show me a working alternative that doesn't require revolution and doesn't hurt working people.
And the risk of yours is that we hit ecological collapse. We're betting our future on a system that basically sets us on a self-destructive path.
The debate reveals something important. Both sides agree the current system has major problems. The question is whether the solution is reforming capitalism with stronger regulations and innovation, or replacing it towards degrowth communism. Many of us may resonate with Saito's point that growth capitalism is heading to destruction. But critics are right that he offers no clear political path. At the same time, they underestimate the urgency. Can regulation actually work fast enough? There's no easy answer, but it's a question our generation must ask.